Welcome, everybody. So glad that you're joining us. We are going to be very active this evening. So if you have a chance to go into the chat and share maybe where you're calling in from, that would be great. And it's funny, we used to say, where are you calling in from? And we usually meant the city. Now we could even mean just the room of your house. I actually had somebody say once, I'm in my closet. It's the only place I can get reception. So if you have a moment, please do go into that chat. Let us know where you are calling from. I will go ahead and put mine in. I'm calling from beautiful and chilly Columbus, Ohio today. All right, dining room, Gehanna. Thank you, Jen. Very nice. Love your dining room. Curtains are gorgeous. If you have a moment, Caroline, Brian, Laura, Amanda, so nice to see you. Sandra, go ahead and go in that chat and tell us where you are calling from. Menlo Park, California. Guest room. Got it all. There we go. Alex, tell me what else you're seeing.
Absolutely. I'm seeing Eddie's from Worthington, Ohio. Laura is doing what we all have had to do over the last 20 months or so, and she is multitasking in the kitchen and in Columbus. We've seen it all over. We've had people join from their childhood bedrooms in addition to the closets that Karen's referring to. A lot of Ohio represented here. Chardon, Ohio. And Jen does wonder if her cat will make an appearance, which we welcome. We understand we are peering into the lives and the actual rooms that you are in. So young children and animals are always welcome. So those of you that are just joining in, we'd love for you to go into the chat and let us know where you are joining us from today. Sandra is making me jealous in Sacramento, California, where I'm sure it's a little bit warmer than it is here in Central, as well as the surrounding areas here in Ohio.
Yeah, many of the states around here are not Sacramento. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, a lot more folks joining us. Wonderful. Hi, Zen. Hi, Anne Claire. Hey, Caroline and Libby. Go ahead and let us know where you're calling in from, whether it be the room of your house or the city you are in. We'll take them both.
I'm in my house.
That's
why I'm trying to find a quiet spot.
Well, good luck, Zen. I hope that you can get to a good quiet spot. When you get there, go ahead and mute your microphone so we won't have any feedback, but we might have you come off in the middle of the show if you've got a comment or a question.
Okay.
So do let us know where you're joining from.
I'm joining from an organization. I have a small consulting thing that I'm doing. So
marvelous. I hope it's going well.
It's all right.
Good luck to your success.
Thanks.
Well, listen, we are a couple minutes in now. We've given 3 minutes. Hello, everybody. If you'd like to come off mute and say hello, that would be fine. But I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Alex, any thoughts?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Now, today we will be very engaging in the way we work and communicate with all of you. So please be ready, as we've already done, to type in chat. If you have any questions that come up throughout the session, please feel free to type them directly in chat. Myself, as well as BioOhio, will be pulling those for some question and answers later in the session. We'll also be utilizing the reactions button. So if you would like to go to that reactions button on your toolbar and practice it, give a thumbs up, give a smiley face, whatever you like to put in there to show where you are right now. We'll be utilizing that for one of our activities here shortly. Without further ado, I want to pass it back to our wonderful founder and CEO here at Improv Edge, Miss Karen Huff.
Hello, everybody. Karen Huff here. I'm the founder and CEO of Improv Edge and a longtime partner to BioOhio. It is such a thrill to be back again doing another panel. I love our training work that we've done together. And it is my incredible pleasure to first introduce you to, boy, talk about a woman who makes things happen. She's a manager with BioOhio. She's been many years and really is just an incredible collaborator and quite an improviser. Everybody, please welcome Jennifer Goldsberry.
Thanks, Karen and Improv Edge. We're so pleased to be partnering with you on this event and many that we've had in the past. So thank you for your support and your amazing energy and improv. We learn from you every day, and we'll learn from you today. As Karen said, I'm Jen with BioOhio, and I've had the pleasure of helping build and grow this event since 2015, since this event's inception, which started as Women in Bioscience, and then it's evolved over the years to now Diversity in Bioscience. And today we are doing another event. We've done them virtually this year, and we bring together really important people and amazing minds and to cover important topics. Just the to go back and look at the speakers and topics we've had in this series has been incredible. And so thank you so much, everybody that's participating. And I have the honor of pointing out a special guest in our event today. Eddie Pauline is the new president of BioOhio, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jen. Appreciate that intro. And Karen, grateful that your company and team have a long-term relationship with our organization. We want to certainly continue that partnership as we move forward. Just a real quick observation. I started in this role in early August, and for the last 3 months have been traveling around the state, meeting with many of our members and other influencers in the health and life sciences. And one sort of striking observation for me is that there's a lot of leaders within the industry that look like me. And I think a lot of the companies in the industry are saying the right things about diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, but it's not yet really reflected in the workforce. So I'm really wanting to position our organization as one that continues to be a resource for our member companies and as others as they try to navigate how to diversify the health and life science workforce and to be a little bit more inclusive. So I'm excited for this conversation, and really great that it has the support of two other important partners for us, which is VWR and HBA. So I'll hand it over to our supporters for an overview of their work. I appreciate being here.
Robin, you can go ahead and go. This is our event sponsor. Robin's representing Avantor today.
Hello, I'm Robin Katzenstein. I'm with VWR. We're part of Avantor. Avantor is a chemical company. We're a proud sponsor and partner of BioOhio. We are one of their key suppliers for laboratory. I am one of the reps in the Ohio area, and I have 3 other associates. And thanks, Jen, for allowing us to be part of this. Very excited.
Absolutely. And if anybody has a lab or needs lab supplies, ask us about their cost savings on their products. And Healthcare Business Women's Association, Stephanie Henderson's here today, our amazing event partner.
Thanks, Jen. We really, at HBA, the Healthcare Business Women's Association, we really appreciate the partnership and the continued partnership of BioOhio as we all work to advance diversity. HBA works to be a global leader in gender equality for advancing women into positions of influence and decision-making so that we can improve health equity and health outcomes. And in that, we stand for all types of diversity. I want to just say a little bit about our chapter and our commitment as we emerge from the COVID-imposed separation that we're experiencing. And our chapter is really trying to work to create greater connectedness and community. So for HBA, if you are a member or interested in being a member, we are going to be spending 2022 looking at outreach and listening to our members and their organizations. We want to make opportunities for our members to make a difference in areas that are important to them. So we know there's a lot of bioscience going on in Central Ohio and Ohio. So we want to get people involved and give people opportunities to connect through volunteering. And we've got a great mentoring program. We also are really looking forward to programming that supports women and all human beings to help them navigate our healthcare business world as it is today and be healthy doing it. So I want to really quickly tell you about a program I'm really excited about that we're going to be having and hosting on December 14th from 5:30 to 7. It is actually going to be an in-person. We're going to be experimenting with that. Requiring vaccination and masking for that event, but we're really going to be talking about something to help lighten the load for the holidays or help lighten up the holidays. We're going to have somebody speaking and having us really understand facing our own feelings of guilt so that we can enjoy work, play, and life. If you're interested in learning more about that, we'd ask you to drop your email in the chat with just HBA there. We don't have the registration quite up yet, and what we'd like to do is send you the registration information when it's available. Another big event for us is the Lift symposium that we partner with Columbus Business First. BioOhio has been a big part of that in the past. It's our 5th anniversary this year, where we're focusing on driving awareness, commitment, and action toward gender parity, and love collaborating with BioOhio and other like organizations. So please let us know if there's more you want to know about HBA if you're not a member. And if you're a member, we're really glad to have you here. Thanks, Jen.
All right, wonderful to hear from you. I will tell you that I have seen the equipment of Avantor in many of the labs of my very large clients, and we have been involved with as a partner to HBA, oh my gosh, 12, maybe 15 years, and also part of the Lift Symposium, an incredible event I can't recommend highly enough. So let's get started. I'm really thrilled that we can be here. One of the things we're going to do to get started today is we're going to play an improv game, okay? It's improv edge, that's what we do. And improvisation allows us to connect in different ways. So this is a game called How Many Times? It's going to get us all warmed up. There's a couple ways you can do it. If you are on camera, you can hold up your hands and say, like, if you want to say 2, you can do this, or 10. You can also go in the chat and give a number. But I'm going to make some statements. And every time I make a statement, I want you to either go to the chat or hold up your hands and tell me how many times this has been true for you. Okay? So first of all, does anyone have questions about how this works? Anybody? Questions? Okay. All right. So I'm going to make a statement. It's going to start with the question, how many times? And then you need to put a number in. All right. So let's get started. And Alex, I can't wait to see or hear from you what you're seeing in the chat. All right. So let's get started. First one, how many times have you been told you really need to smile more? You really need to smile more. Alex, what do you? Chelsea said, I think 72,000. No, wait, 726,484. 0. All right, Dennis has never been told that. Too many. Stephanie, lots, most, lost count. Yeah, I would have gone like this, maybe. Although I'm a smiler, so maybe not as bad for me. At least 100 times from Sandra. What else do you see, Alex? It's harder for me to catch that.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, Natasha, she did the hand where she showed multiple times. Too many. I don't have enough fingers for that.
Yeah.
I see similar responses as well of hundreds of times of hearing that.
Totally. All right, so get ready for the next one. Here we go. How many times have you been told that you're just a little too aggressive and you need to be nicer? Anybody a little too aggressive, just need to dial it back a little bit. Okay, I would say something probably like at least 20 times. At least 20. Nicole is at the millions. Nicole, I got to meet you, girl. Okay.
Yeah, I see other many times, a couple times, 10-ish times.
Yeah.
Lots for some people, fewer for others.
All right. All right, beautiful. Okay, ready? How many times have you had to take time off work to care for a sick child, a sick parent, a sick person in your world that you needed to care for? How many times have you had to take off work? And I would say I can't even count. I have no earthly idea. Many, many, many times.
Yeah, chat sharing the same sentiment with countless, too many times to count. Some more people on camera showing, just waving, flashing their hand, adding those 5s and 10s together.
I really appreciate the person who
many.
said regularly. Dennis said regularly. It's so regular. For some people, it's even a second job. They don't even hardly say anything about it because it's so regular. It's so constant. Yeah. Half day this week. Thank you, Caroline. All right, here we go. Here's another one. How many times have you had to change jobs to support your spouse or your family? or whoever you happen to live and work with.
I see some people holding up 2 fingers, 3 in the chat, a few people 1 or 2 times. Susan says 8 times. A lot of changes there.
Wow, a lot of changes. A lot of changes.
Yeah, and
And
Caroline says
Caroline,
that, yeah, go ahead, Karen.
yeah, she said, never. My husband has made many moves for my career. You know, it goes both ways, right? For your partner. And I think that it is often a far more likely possibility for a female partner. So part of the reason that we play this warm-up game is to get us thinking a little bit about differences and about our own experiences. And those are very important and very relevant to us. Now, again, these experiences go across race, they go across the spectrum of gender. However, often we find that the statements we talked about do tend to happen more often, statistically, to people who lean toward the female in the gender spectrum, or people who identify as female. So we do want to share some statistics, some interesting information about women around the world, okay? So let's take a look at gender bias, and this is specifically in the workplace. As we look at the first bullet point there, all right, we look at 2.6% of CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies. All of them are white. Now, this was not always true. It is now. And by the way, this is a 2020 number, so we're going to have to go back and take a look at that again. However, 13 women out of 500, that's all we've got. The second bullet has to do with women in leadership. And in healthcare, in bioscience, in particular in the sciences, this tends to be very, very relevant. In healthcare, what's funny is that I remember there was a time that they liked to tout that female representation was higher than male representation at 51 or 52%. However, when you really get into the data around those numbers, most of that is at the managerial level or below. And then as you start going up into executives, it squeaks and squeaks and becomes 0 at the highest levels. Also, globally, women make up 35% of STEM students, 35% of STEM students around the world. My daughter's one, and only 29.3 of those are actually working in scientific research and development, which means that there's a terrible drop-off. As a matter of fact, when you see a percentage of people in education, often when it's going well, you see an even higher representation in actual jobs because they may get on the job training, they may move forward. However, this is showing us that there's a terrible drop-off, that it's not actually being used, that wonderful, important education. That is a gigantic talent gap for us. Now, let's take a look at the next slide, because it also speaks to some of the things we'll be talking to our panelists about today. And this is the global pandemic. So I am sure we have all heard the statistic about the fact that women have left the workforce during the pandemic in droves, in far, far higher numbers than men. And it is so disheartening to me because we have made such strides over the last few decades. And I feel like in the space of a year, we lost a lot of that. And of course, it comes back to that question that we just had on how many times. If a family is under unbelievable pressure and all of a sudden you can't even rely on help for maybe an elder or perhaps for your children, and your children also need to be completely cared for by you, something's going to have to give. Something's going to have to give. And often it was a woman's job. So 1 in 4 women are experiencing right now very severe anxiety. 1 in 10 men say the same. I would tell you that I believe it's probably a little bit higher. And for me, the sad gender aspect here is that I'm sure, and I understand from my clients anecdotally, that men's anxiety is just as high as women's. However, our society, especially in the United States, says it's not okay for them to say that. Now, if they could share that, they would probably feel less anxiety. So we have a double bind there that we're working at. More than half of all women are currently struggling with sleep issues. 50% are not sleeping well. We all know how, I don't know how you are when you don't sleep, but I'm almost unable to function. And 31% of women with full-time jobs and families say that they have more to do than they can possibly handle. More to do than they can possibly handle. And I know we have all experienced days like that during this pandemic. So as we look at these statistics, it's very disheartening. Alex, was this our last slide on this?
Yeah, we didn't want to overload you with too much information about those negative effects. We want to get into the stories behind why this is
Exactly.
happening.
Exactly. So we have two incredible panelists with us today. We're going to be asking them some questions. I also want us to get to know them as humans. One of the most wonderful outcomes of a terrible thing, this pandemic, is that we have become far more able to get to know each other. And that's because we're in our homes. You know, Jennifer said maybe her cat would walk across the screen. We now suddenly know who people's kids are and their pets and what time the baby needs a nap because we're walking into each other's homes. So I want to give you just a quick bio of this amazing woman who is on our panel today. Jennifer Fenoglio, and did I say that right?
You did. Thank you.
Ah, thank goodness, is the Director of Charitable Giving and External Affairs at Genentech. She leads for charitable giving to benefit nonprofit organizations who advocate on behalf of patients and their caregivers and focused on health equity in their giving strategy. As a member of Genentech Women ERG Group and IDE in Commercial and Government Affairs Department, she advocates for the support needed by women in the workplace. What a fantastic job. Now, I also hear that your life is somewhat like a sitcom. Can you please tell us a little bit more about that? This is where we get to know her as a person and not just a bio.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be sorry that I opened my mouth in our planning session, but no, I come from I'm a part of a beautiful modern family, a blended family. So I am married to a man, and between the two of us, we have 4 children, 2 on each side. And modern family, I actually have to give credit to my stepwife, who is my kid's dad's wife, and we just have a big, messy modern family where we do holidays together, and we go through the ups and downs of life together. And Modern Family, I think, kind of came and was tipping its hat to that sitcom that maybe some of you are a fan of. And we were, Alex and Natasha and Karen and I were others were talking about it. And I would aspire to be Julie Bowen because I think she's an amazing comedic actor. She's her character is very endearing and silly, and I'm just like her. And it doesn't matter what I do, my 4 teenagers will never ever think I'm cool. So that was the discussion we had.
All right, all right. You know what? I fear that we can't be ever cool, but you know what? I think you're cool, Jennifer.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to stand
I'll
up
be
for
sure
your
to tell my
coolness
kids.
right now. Okay. Let me introduce our next panelist. The amazing Natasha Tharp is the Director of Consulting and Assessment of Taylor Strategy Partners, TSP. Natasha works with stakeholders to listen, customize, and design the right selection, organizations, and leadership development tools using her 20 years of experience across multiple and diverse industries, including financial services, telecommunications, and most recently, healthcare. Amazing. And so I also hear that you try to travel to a rather specific location at least once a year. So tell us about that.
Yes, thank you, Karen. I am part of a modern family as well. My husband is, a different color than I am, and we have a biracial child. So I can relate to Jen in that manner. When I married him and was courting him, I wanted to impress him and his horse family. They own a big horse farm, and I wanted to do all the right things, if we can remember those days. And I decided to join them in a dude ranch every year. And, I just had to get on a horse and figure it out. And interestingly enough, as I shared with the panel in some of our practice rounds, I noticed when you go to a dude ranch, a lot of stereotypes very much exist between men and women, and boy, is there a wide gender gap. I would get I'm also a petite Asian woman. I would get the smallest horse, the most tame horse, and the assumption that I could only trot, not gallop through the prairie or through riverbanks. So I had to, put my sort of superwoman power on and be brave and act like I could. And then eventually I could. So I faked it until I made it. And, but it was interesting to know that you can kind of step back in time sometimes when you even do that type of fun trip. But you have to remember who you are.
You have to remember who you are. Oh, that's excellent. So, what do you love about it now that you're going? Because I know you did it for love to begin, but now that you keep going back, what is the best part?
oh, well, now I'm just trying to be this expert horsewoman and kind of show my stuff, right?
Yeah.
And now it's become relaxing and a place. No mobile service, no TVs. You go back to your room, you read a book. So it really now more than ever feels great to disengage.
Oh, that's amazing. Would you believe that before the pandemic, one of the really cool places to go were resorts that charged you extra to put you in a room where you could not get service? So you had an actual real excuse to your work that you didn't have connectivity.
Yeah.
And that was before we were always connected. So interesting to think about. Okay, awesome. So Natasha, I'm going to stick with you for a minute. I'm here with these extraordinary women, and I am wondering if you could share, what it has been like to be a woman in your specific industry. Tell us a bit more about it, and give us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, I've had an interesting journey and have made, as the bio mentioned, I've been in a lot of different industries. Started off in financial services industry. Anybody who knows anything about financial services knows it's heavily male dominated. So I went through a lot of years not knowing how to behave and how to step into the power that I now own. And what I recently did in my career is made a huge decision, and that is left a big job with a big salary to have more balance. And is balance achievable? Work-life balance, life balance? I don't know. I don't think so. But the straw that sort of broke the back there, the camel's back, was I was in a meeting, an executive meeting in my previous company that I left, and I had to leave for my preschool daughter at the time, her Halloween party. When I arrived late to the meeting, my leader, who I reported to and was running the meeting and with all of my peers, said, "Oh, Natasha was at a Halloween party for her preschooler." And I felt at the time that it was just maybe her impact, her intention was very good, but her impact it landed on me as not supportive. And I felt like, there was just sort of this unspoken truth in the room that that's not a good reason to be late to a meeting. And since then, I've moved to a company that is when I say I need to go to a Halloween party at school or volunteer or whatever I have to do outside of work, it's met with absolutely do what you need to do, take the time that you need. And I can't tell you, taking away the pay, taking away the big title, it's worth it.
It's worth it. You make me reflect on something I was advised about, and then I did an anecdotal study amongst my clients around leaving the office. Okay, so women tend to give huge explanations. They'll say, okay, I'm going to leave at 3:05 and I'm going to be able to get to my daughter's place by 3:25, and then I will be there for exactly 42 minutes, and then it will take me this long to get back. So everyone knows all that's going on. Whereas gentlemen, and again, we actually tracked this, would say, hey, I got to go, and would be gone for, 4 hours or whatever, and come back. And at the end of the year, the perception was still that women had been gone longer, even when men were over 50% longer. And part of it was that, in a way, we weren't allowed to say it. And you wanted to be honest. I wonder, Natasha, did you say anything to that leader before you left about the impact of her words?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. And because I felt like I was surrounded by many people who I didn't feel like had that same obligation. And it felt like my need was minimized and it wasn't just for being late to that meeting. So to even verbalize it later to her was tough to do.
Yeah. And I feel sad for the organization that they lost your talent.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's probably a resonant story for a lot of us. Jennifer, can I go to you? You're in an industry that is also heavily male dominated. Can you talk about your experience over your time as being a woman in your industry?
Yeah, thanks, Karen and Natasha. Your story resonates with me. It made me, I guess I should first say I've been very fortunate to work for a lot of leaders and in a lot of companies where there was some freedom and safety to take care of things outside of work, whatever those things are. But there was one time I had a job for a few years that was in a company that built and sold surgical devices, and surgery continues to be very male dominated. And their sale, I was in marketing, and the sales force was very male dominated. And I remember for the first time I was in a sales training class, and the man teaching the class, who was very well respected, had been around the industry for decades, made a sexist joke in the class and talked about how some flight attendant on some flight of his, and he proceeded to describe her in a way. And I was just like taken aback. And I thought, oh no, this, I must be wrong. But there were maybe 2 other women in the class with me. And I just remember, I guess in a fortunate way, I was shocked because that hadn't happened to me before. But then I realized this does happen. And so I think our word, and it isn't always a man that does it. Natasha, your example was just, a woman who was perhaps thoughtless or just not having a good day. But, it's true for many of us. So I would say that my experience has overall been really positive, and though I have made, I think that in our improv exercise at the beginning, you asked about changing jobs for your spouse, which I have not done as many times. But what I have done is not pursue opportunities because either I was a single parent at the time in between my marriages, or in my relationships where I didn't feel, based on the responsibilities I had outside of work at home, kid related and unkid related, that I had enough of what I needed in the big picture to pursue a new job, a bigger job, and it's just new jobs, regardless of whether it's a level up or not. That takes an investment of time. And I didn't put my hat in the ring for positions because I didn't think I would be able to have the flexibility that I needed to take care of my responsibilities at home, again, what that means generally, and be able to perform the way I'd be expected to perform at work. And I've stayed in positions for a really long time because you build a reputation, you build credibility. So when you have to walk away from work for an hour or a day or a week because of those outside needs that pop up, a sick child, a toilet that's broken, whatever it is, when you've built the credibility, you can do that and you can walk out and not tell anybody and know that you're not going to be questioned. But when you're new, and sometimes depending if you're in a minority and you're in an organization, you're even a tenured person, you don't necessarily you don't feel you have the safety and the credibility built with people to be able to walk away and make those decisions. So fortunately, I've had a really good experience, and I've also been very intentional throughout my career in choosing the roles that gave me the flexibility, that I was confident I would have the flexibility that I needed. And I've also tried to really model the behavior, and I'm not perfect, but like, I leave when I need to leave, and I say why I'm leaving, whatever it is. And I try to be someone who models that so that other people know that that we are all humans with lives that need to be attended to at different times.
Cheers. Thank you for sharing that. I wonder too, as you sort of look back on those decisions, Jennifer, and the fact that you're hugely successful now, how do you still feel about those decisions?
I overall, I'm really happy. I mean, I've been very fortunate, and I feel, I've been at the places where I've needed to be in the broadest sense, professionally and personally, when I needed to be there. And so it's all worked out. So I don't have any real regrets. But sometimes I wonder, I look at, people I kind of came into the profession together with, and different people at different paths and made different choices, and they've probably achieved a bit more, however you might measure that. So sometimes that stings a little, but I guess as I've gone on in my life and my career, I just have learned to be cognizant that the decisions I've made are the ones that are right for me and my family.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you so much for sharing that. Those are fantastic stories. And I wonder too, now that we've kind of hit on it, I'd like to go straight to the work-life balance question, which is always on everyone's mind, and we always could use a different tip from women who are living this life and working through it. But Natasha, can I go back to you? When you hear that term, or when you think about how you manage your life to make it all work, what do you do? How does it work for you?
I don't sleep, and I am like much like your study, right? No, I have learned the wonderful art of, unfortunately, multitasking. But at the end of the day, I do believe in self-care, and I know it's an overused, and sometimes people sort of roll their eyes at it. But even if it's 10 minutes of yoga in the morning or afternoon before bed to kind of loosen your body up, if it's I'm telling you, I've been doing the Calm app, 10 minutes of meditation. I've been trying to do it a lot more. It's helping me, the countless thoughts calm down. And then not being afraid to ask for help from people in my family, even my 7-year-old. You know, I've been kind of saying, could you put the dog food in the bowl? And not feeling bad about that. Could you start help putting your snack together for the day? And to my husband, could you start, here are the things we need to do in the morning. And it sounds, sometimes I feel like a drill sergeant, but if that helps give me some more time, then I need to ask for help, which is something I'm not great at doing.
Okay, does anybody resonate with that? So I just a quick share. My husband just went through major surgery, and I, throughout all the years that I have lived in my neighborhood, I've always been the one taking the meals. I've never ever received it. And there was a moment where one of my neighbors called and said, "Okay, this is your turn, and you have to say yes," because she knew I was about to say, "Oh, no problem." When that first family walked through with a meal, I thought I was going to cry with gratitude because it was so overwhelming, and I was so grateful that I had said yes to help. So what is it, what is it that we can't get over that, Natasha?
I don't want to imposition anyone. I feel like, or be judged. Women can be tough critics of other women. And that in itself, from a call to action, we've got to stop that and remove that judgment and let our friends and our peers and folks around us who are women be who they need to be. If they need help, let them ask, don't judge. If they're shining bright, let them shine bright. And, if they fall down, help pick them back up. But we've got to stop judging, because I feel like women aren't asking because they want to look and presume and make everyone feel like they've got it all together.
We really do. Did everyone hear that? I feel like we just got our call to action straight from Natasha. I feel like that we got 3 really actionable things just to stop judging or making it hard and lift them up when they need lifting up. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so same question to you, Jennifer. The term work-life balance, what does it bring up for you? How can you share with us?
Well, Natasha, you stole my idea. Not that's an idea, my idea, but asking for help. I think that it's important. And I was reflecting on, part of supporting women at work begins with supporting each other at home. And even though women outnumber men in the workforce, the data shows that women still do more than twice as the load of domestic work as their male counterparts. And I just want to give a shout out to all the gentlemen on the call here, just the fact that you're here and that you're listening, and sounds like some of you are modeling amazing behavior. So I just want to say yes, and awesome. You guys are awesome. And we all have to create a better equity at home. It's better for our children. It's better for all of our careers. And it's really, we can't have equity in the workplace and balance for anyone if there's that disproportionate load on any person in the home. And I know, by the way, it happens the other way too. I know some partnerships are, the man carries the weight. So it's really about team collaboration. And I have learned a lot, in my own personal journey around that at home.
That's really wonderful, because again, it empowers everyone. Please keep going, Jennifer. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, this isn't a personal tip, but I can just point to a couple of things that my company has done in the last few years. It was starting before the pandemic, but it was really, as so many things were, there was a light shown on what does working flexibly mean and how do we support our employees. And so in the last year and a half, we've really started to think creatively about what should working flexibly look like to really foster innovation, to support our people, and to make sure that every one of us as colleagues can have the most impact and the most productivity. And so there's what was kind of an ad hoc practice in the company a few years ago. Now there's been a set of practices and a set of conversations that every team is invited to walk through to identify their own team norms about where do individuals work and when, and I think it's made something that was inconsistently adopted across the organization. There's now a lot of momentum to have the conversation, and so that everyone's really clear on what are the expectations about when I work in an office setting, and what are the expectations about when I can work remotely, and it's just been a really healthy exercise in clarity, and I think there's a lot of creative solutions that have come about that I'm really grateful to have as an employee of Genentech.
Fantastic. We'll be sharing an HBR article after this, specifically on Genentech, because they are so rigorous about questions that come up, and we'll get to that in a second. I think the one thing that you kind of, for some reason, something you said there, Jennifer, really triggered me. I remember getting some good advice, thank goodness, quite many years ago. And I was talking about trying to do it all. And somebody said, you can't. Why would you think you could do it all in one day? They said, be who you've got to be each day, and it's all going to even out. And I was so taken by that, because there are days when I got to tell you, I'm an awesome CEO of my company. I do a really great job. Thank you, Alex. You gave me a little look there. But on those days, sometimes I'm not the greatest mom or the greatest partner, spouse, I'm definitely not a good housekeeper on those days, for sure. And then, there might be a day right next door to it where I am absolutely the best wife you ever met, and the company didn't quite get everything they needed. And that is okay, because different parties need different things at different times. And as long as everyone understands it's all going to work out, we don't have to be everything every day. And that was incredibly meaningful to me. There's going to be days where it is all about the children and nobody else. And don't text me, because I'm not going to be texting back.
Cheers
wonderful.
to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah, we have a no text, no checking in on email vacation policy at Improv Edge. So let's get to some of the stuff that's been really painful. Women leaving and trying to return, and maybe leaving again, coming in and out of the workforce, especially because of COVID. And I do want to start with you, actually, Jennifer, because there was some really wonderful work done at Genentech around why were there not enough women in leadership. And I'm curious to hear, now that you talked about what the company's been doing to try to understand how to create flexibility, how to create better environments for your employees. I'm sure a lot of women left the workforce. Talk about the experience there. What has your company done? What have you done? And what have you seen there?
Oh, thanks, Karen. I feel incredibly fortunate that I work for Genentech, which is part of Roche, that has really worked very hard, and we've seen some progress. So it's been, and if folks have time to read the article, they'll hear Cynthia Burks, who's our Chief People Officer, talk about this. But we've been on a 10+ year journey to address gender inequity at different levels of leadership, and it really started with being transparent, like looking at the data and then sharing the data internally with our employees to see how are we doing, how is our gender representation at different levels of leadership. We also worked really intentionally to foster talent in the organization. Someone spoke, I think it was our HBA colleague at the top, about mentorship. We have formal ways for all people, women and men, and to seek out mentorship. And in our succession planning process, our leaders are expected to identify potential top talent in their organization, women and people of color, and have a plan on how those individuals are fostered, their development is fostered, and their leadership is fostered over time. Still a lot of work to do, but we are working on that. I'll also say that just in the last year and a half, just fostering belonging in the company has been a real focus, and I think we did it pretty well with women up until, we still do. It's been a journey. And part of what HBA and Genentech Women Professionals do is really create a community where women and men can go for support, to look around and see people who look like them, and really talk about the challenges that people face. So in the gender equity area, we've been on that journey for, like I said, a little bit over 10 years, and we have more than 50% women at our officer and director and extended leadership level at the company today. And we were in the teens when this work started. So it's been, I think it's a great story. And I certainly, I'm not the person that did the work, I'm just telling you the story, but it was a journey of, starting with the data, looking at where we were, building structures around it, and holding ourselves accountable along the way. So we're hoping now, we're pivoting our focus and our learnings to kind of underrepresented populations of employees that include our Black and Latinx colleagues in the company.
Thank goodness for that work. Thank you so much for that information. And how have you felt the benefits of that?
I think I've, at this company, kind of contrasted by the story I told you from a prior role, I have often seen many people around me that seem like me, that are in a similar life experience as me. So people who have families, people or kids, people who don't have kids, and this explicit commitment to being really open about the whole person and supporting the whole person at work. So I've really always felt at the company where I am now that it's acceptable to do the kinds of things, to have a work-life balance. And I've been really supported by all of my managers on kind of what my professional and leadership goals are. And that's regardless of what my, what my gender is, or my situation outside of the workplace is.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Natasha, that's really some great information about a company that has really looked at their numbers, who did a lot of work there. As we think about numbers, again, I kind of go back to an old question, but I'm wondering what you are seeing as far as women leaving the workforce. Have you ever had an experience with that? And what are your thoughts around either coming in or out of a job and how it's affecting our industry?
Oh, it's remarkable. And so many things that Jen said about the women I work with, whether I'm coaching or we're doing interviewing with them and they're trying to get into roles. And these are women who are going for chief technology officer roles, going for chief financial officer roles. So these non-traditional and more male dominated industries and functions, they are amazing to watch and see. So just to echo some of the things that Jen said, they are beating this drum, and that drum is paying it forward and putting their hand down, if you will, to raise other women up and get them into managerial positions. So I'm seeing that, and spending time with everyone on their team, regardless, every human on their team, and asking them to bring in their personal life, not just their professional life. So the whole person. So I'm hearing that in the industry of many women who are using that to engage their employees and motivate their employees. And I just have an instance where I came back to the workforce after being gone on maternity leave, and I actually on my resume listed my gap. So many recruiters look for gaps in resumes in chronological order, and many women are fearful of that maternity leave gap. And I just placed it on there. I said, it says, how you would put, Google from, 2001 to 2005, I put maternity leave from, a certain time to a certain time frame. And it was more than a year that I took off. And I had somebody comment when they were looking at my resume that they really commended me for that as I came back into the workforce, that I just kind of said, here's what it is. And I was able to explain my story as I would explain a job experience. And I also had a male comment on it and said, that's really cool. I'm going to tell my wife about that because she's very worried about this gap. And I didn't even think it was groundbreaking. I just thought, well, let me just put it here and see what happens, and anyways, for those folks who are out there just worried about that, if you're thinking about having a child, or if you're thinking about taking leave for some reason, maybe just put it out there and have the honest conversation, because you want, as Jen mentioned, them to have an honest conversation with you and allow your whole self to come into that organization.
I just love that. I do think that's groundbreaking. I think it's so cool. I wonder, did you list your skills, like ability to calm screaming humans, ability, you know, like did you
I
like you
didn't.
should have had a whole description, like what you
Right.
got if you're maternity leave. That would have been hysterical. I think that's fantastic, and I can't believe I've never heard of it before.
Mhm.
Right? Because the fear and that sort of hole there. So tell me about this. Would you recommend that if someone had to leave their job during the pandemic, you know, because nobody else was going to teach the kids the first grade math?
I look at resumes, lots of them leadership resumes for my job, right? I do a lot of executive assessment and I see resumes. And so I'm pretty adept at taking a look at a resume pretty quickly and making an assessment. I would say if someone put that on their resume, I'd be surprised and delighted. And I would bring it up. I would say, tell me about this. And as you mentioned, Karen, if they started saying, here's what I learned to be resilient. I learned to practice patience. I sort of found my true interest during this time, and it's allowed me to have balance in my professional life. Those types of things, I think, would be, I would embrace those as a hiring manager. And I hope as women who are hiring folks, you would embrace it as well.
I so appreciate that. Thank you for this story. I think it's very empowering. You know, do you have any advice for us? How do we support women better in the workplace? Because that's our final question. We're going to do some cool stuff after this. But how do we better support women? Give us some more calls to action, or just your best tips.
I want us desperately, as I mentioned, to stop competing and start supporting. I want us to share our secrets, meaning if we bumped our nose on some cultural wall, if you will, and we learned from it, let's share our learnings and not hide that, because, you know, that made me successful and I don't want anybody else to be successful. Like, let's hide what we're learning. And if you understand now how to walk into a room full of people who look different than you and assert yourself in a way that's assertive and not aggressive, and inviting people in, tell people. And finally, if you're in a position of influence, take a hard second look at folks who may not have that equal opportunity chance to be in that managerial position. As Jen said, you need to get them in that pipeline. You need to get them in that entry-level manager position so they can begin to shine and teach them those new skills. So I think it's just opening up ourselves, showing vulnerability, teaching who we are, what we've learned, and then pulling up those folks who might not have an equal opportunity chance at the table.
Drop the mic, somebody. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Jennifer, as you think about what you most wish we could do for women in the workplace, do you have any big wishes or dreams? Tell us what we can do.
Well, I think my big dream is really that we can think more broadly about the different experiences that we bring to our work, because whether it's Natasha, your maternity leave, or someone who leaves during the pandemic to care for an aging parent or teach first grade math, or maybe it's someone who had a very different job and a low skill job, and because that's the path that they had from point A to where they are now. Like, that's diversity. Diversity isn't about quotas or anything like that. It's really about the recognition and the love of different people with different experiences and what that brings to our industry. And our industry is at the heart, is about better care for patients and innovation. And better care for patients means that we are a better reflection, a more representative reflection, we as professionals, of the patients we serve. And innovation is about bringing all sorts of ideas to the table. And I think we just all, as humans, because, you know, it's how our brains work, we get, we have different schemas and ways we make decisions and the ways we categorize people and ideas, and we've got to break out of that. And that means more gender diversity. It means more racial diversity. It means recruiting in different places and being more intentional in our talent development. So, and it means, looking at home and being someone who asks for more help and someone who offers more help, and understanding that that's what makes our workplaces and our families and our communities better. So that's what I would wish.
I just love that if only each of our companies could represent the people we serve better, right? That's so simple. It's so simple and so elegant. Well, I want to thank our two panelists for this incredible insight. It's been really uplifting to me. We're not done yet. Hang on. We have a lot of cool stuff to do, and you might be the lucky ones to get one of the panelists in your room. Alice, can you talk to us about what we're going to do next, which is going to be really cool and fun?
Absolutely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to extend this conversation out to all of you in our group now. We're going to break out into some breakout rooms. We'll work in some smaller groups to continue the storytelling that we've already had, maybe to ask more questions and just have an overall discussion around the topics of today, narrowing the gender gap and the reentry of women into the workplace. We'd love to hear from all of you. In improv, we care so much about making connections with each other. So this is a time for you to socialize and connect and learn that other people are in those similar situations. We know showing up with that empathy is something that's been big over the last 20 months or so. So we do want to give you all the opportunity to connect with others that might be in those similar situations in their work and the roles that they play. And before we send you all to the breakout rooms, I do want to call in what Caroline Winter said in chat about a speaker once said in a recent Society of Women Engineers conference, she used the word work-life blend instead of work-life balance. And I really appreciate that. That ties in the idea of improv of yes and, where everything is accepted. And I think, Karen, you had stated this when adjusting your roles. It's not, I have to be a boss today and I can't be a mom. It's a blend. It's, I am a boss today and I'm a mom. And sometimes, it blends one way rather than the other. I just appreciated what she had said there. So I'm going to send you to your breakout room shortly. I'll hit the button. You'll all go out to your rooms. You'll be in your rooms for we'll give you about 15 minutes. We really want you to have a good conversation and have an opportunity to storytell and connect with each other. So when you get to your rooms, please introduce yourself to everyone else in the room. And then if you have a great story to connect to the topics, or you have a great question that you want to discuss, please share amongst your group. If you have the capabilities, please turn those cameras on so you can see each other. We know in the virtual world, it's much easier to make those connections if we are on camera and we are on mute. If you have any questions when you're in the breakout rooms, there's an ask for help button. You can click that and that'll ping myself or our BioOhio representatives, and we can come in and assist you with whatever needs you might have. Does anyone have any questions before we send you out to those breakout rooms? Okay, enjoy furthering the discussion, and we will see you all in about 15 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I see Karen is back, Jennifer is back, Robin is back. Here we all are. Karen, take it away. How was your breakout room?
I had so much fun in my room. I had such a fantastic time. And I would really actually love to hear from some people about what they experienced. Laura, I see that you're off on camera. Would you share a little bit about what was talked about in your room, Laura McLaughlin?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a wonderful room of 4 women. Natasha did a great job kind of mediating for us. I think like a lot of breakout rooms, we were all sort of staring at each other and didn't know who to speak first. But we did all talk about imposter syndrome. Myself and another member, Cecilia, are in the sort of changing up in our careers in different stages for different reasons. And they had really sage advice. Everyone shared about their own experiences, and they were able to give me some advice, while I'm looking for jobs and putting myself out there, which was really wonderful to have.
Oh, Laura, we wish you the best. Let us know if there's anything we can do. Marvelous. So Chelsea, I know you may not be able to have camera access, but I wonder if you could come off of mute and tell us what happened in your room. I see Chelsea Ball. Is that possible for you, Chelsea? You have such a nice picture.
Thank you.
You're
I was
welcome.
actually in the same room as Laura.
Oh, okay.
So
What was your experience in the room?
I thought it was really great the room really showed me the breadth, I think, of talent that we have on the call. There was a wide range of different experiences. And what was interesting is that we've all, even being in these different areas, have kind of experienced the same thing. There is still similarities there. So yeah, we had a great conversation around imposter syndrome, and kind of how to deal with that, and different ways to position yourself for, trying to switch careers or industries. So I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. You know, Jen Goldsberry made that comment in our room. I appreciated that. But one of the things I love about these events is that you go, oh, I'm not alone. After all, you get to hear from other women who are also dealing with this.
Right.
Brian Glow, I hope I'm saying that right. Brian, we haven't heard from a gentleman in the room. Is there something you'd like to share about your breakout room? Brian, are you there? I saw you come off mute. Maybe you're having an issue with your microphone. Okay, Brian, hopefully we'll get to come back to you. Anyone else that would like to share a thought about their room?
Hello?
Oh, hey, Brian, now I can hear you. Hi.
There we go. I don't know. Oh, I'm doing all this on my phone. So I was actually a fly on the wall in my room. So it's
Okay.
interesting to listen. And the one thing, or a couple of things that I could share, actually probably the best manager I ever had was a female, and she was just very supportive of everyone and their goals. And it's really kind of wonderful. You're gonna make me reach out to her. I haven't talked to her in about 3 or 4 months. But it's when the ladies were sharing earlier about going to the kids show or whatever, and I was able to have some flexibility and go on field trips and enjoy that time with the kids. And when the ladies were sharing, I thought, gosh, when I showed up, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're the greatest dad in the world. Like, it was this hero type of welcome from anybody that was there, whether it was a teacher or the coach or whatever. And it's kind of an interesting paradigm shift that the ladies, like, it's an obligation almost, right? Like, that's what I heard. But the other big takeaway, and I thank you all for this because I don't do it enough, is really just asking for help no matter what you're doing. I think that's a big thing that a lot of driven people miss out on. And I don't know if I'm driven any more than any of you, but I don't ask for help very often.
Wow.
So.
Brian, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you sharing. And you're right. I mean, everyone needs to ask for help. I bet it's even harder sometimes for men. And by the way, thank you too for telling that story about showing up. It's something that's very well documented. It's called the gender double bind. For example, believe it or not, when men have children, they get a pay raise statistically. When women have children, they get a pay cut. So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff societally, from an unconscious bias perspective that happens. And I just so appreciate the fact that you recognize that. So thank you. I want to give our panelists one more chance to say any closing words. I know you both were in rooms. So Jennifer, do you have a quick comment from your room before we close out the evening?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I was having some audio difficulties in our room. Well, I just enjoyed our conversation in our room. We were talking a little bit about those hiring decisions that get made at times where men with less experience are given opportunities over women with more. And but there was really a message of hope about, like, we do see in our respective organizations a lot of good progress in pockets, at least. And so we were just, I was wanting to cheer us all on to keep being really who we are authentically, and keep pushing forward. And then Anne Claire shared, I hope it's okay, Anne Claire, I used your name, just talking about that, not every woman has children. And I feel that sometimes we do a disservice by assuming that every woman is also a mother, and that defines her outside of work experience. And it's not always the balance between raising kids and working. It's everything outside of life, and just what that means, and what it means to be closer to midlife, and the career decisions and choices that we're all trading off as I think we were all kind of getting to that stage in life. So really personal stories. I really enjoyed meeting all of them, and I've just really enjoyed being with everybody today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and Anne Claire. During Improv Edge has a program called Beyond Bias that we've done with very large organizations. And just today, it was used as an example of a member of our ensemble doesn't have kids, never chose to be married. And it's funny how that can be used as an example of how she also has to deal with those expectations, Thank you for highlighting that. Jennifer, you were an incredible panelist. I can't thank you enough. Everybody was still talking about your stories in my breakout. So I am going to have Natasha, if you could wrap it up with any thoughts from your room or final things for us to take away.
Well, thank you, Karen. It was such a pleasure to be here, and then to get to meet a couple of the women in the breakout group. And of course, what's stuck with me is this feeling of imposter syndrome, and to hear other women talk about it. One, you are not alone. If you're elevated too early in your career, too early, in your Icarus, you touch the sun, and you fly really high quickly, you tend to feel like you don't belong. And if you're a woman, you tend to feel like you don't belong. If you're a person of color, you tend to feel like you don't belong. The interesting thing is we're all feeling that way, and we all looked and see, and we're different in different careers. And a lot of that, just through my coaching and the work that I do, I know a lot of it tends to be amongst high achievers, because you want to be all the things, and you have a little bit of a perfectionist way about us. And I feel like it's the asking for help, but I think it's about going easy on yourself, and knowing that you're not alone, is that we're all in that room, and probably many men too, thinking, should I be in this room? Does this make sense? And then overcome that by remembering who you are, all your successes, how you got there. And that's just a thought in your head. Don't let anybody see it. The imposter syndrome is so real, and it plagues me, and it plagues so many of us, that remembering your confidence and standing in who you are will get you through that, I think. But not a great gem, but just something that stayed with me and resonated, that we're not alone in that feeling.
I think it is a great gem. I'm going to take that gem, I'm going to put it in my crown, okay, and we're going to wear that one out. Natasha, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. It was so illuminating and uplifting. I want to thank also Jen Goldsberry. Jen, do you have a few last words to say before we head out?
Just a big thank you to Jennifer and Natasha, of course, Improv Edge, Avantor for event sponsor, and HBA. What a inspiring event. Again, I said in my work breakout room that I'm not alone, and to remember, and I want to make sure I take this information and carry it till tomorrow. Like, I don't want to forget. Sometimes I feel like this is so, you walk away so empowered, and then tomorrow I'm going to dig into my calendar, and then, I don't take these nuggets with me. So I'm going to be very conscious to take this information with me and carry you all in spirit tomorrow. So,
Okay,
thank you. It was
good.
incredible.
Thank you. Now, we're going to end in the improv way. I want to thank my producer, Alex Layfeld, for being here with me this evening. I want each of you right now to commit to something for yourself. So in our room, I was really pushing Jen to commit to just one thing. You don't have to take it all away. And if we go into tomorrow and let the day be exactly the same, then we're not going to change. So just choose one. It can be simple. It can be small. Take a little bit of inspiration from tonight and think about, what can I do differently tomorrow? Everybody thinking? Pick one. Write it down. Everybody writing it down? So it's the first thing you see in the morning. Write it down. Come on, I want to see those pencils moving. All right. What are you going to do? Anything is right. Anything is right. Write it down. How are you going to make a little bit of a difference for yourself tomorrow? with inspiration from this time. And now, if you could all please unmute. I know it's going to be crazy and cacophonous, but unmute quickly wherever you are. Rita, Cecilia, everybody take yourself off mute. I'm going to have you put your fists in the air like this, because in the improv, we love to say yes and. This was a huge yes and tonight. We're going to shout yes and 3 times after I say 1, 2, 3, because this was fantastic. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yes, and. Yes, and. Yes, and. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone.